Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
TFG Football is an IVM production, and you can also check out their other awesome shows like the On Course Podcast, a show where they help you to tackle various questions related to abroad studies, like which university to choose or how to navigate the application process.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the TFG Indian Football Podcast. Today, a big day for Bengaluru FC. They will play April 25 Sports Club. They come from North Korea. So they're already down 3-0 thanks to the great performance in the rain-lashed first leg at Bengaluru FC.
I was just waiting for you to say great performance by the rain.
So it was a good joint effort, just leading to absolutely no game in the second half. Mostly it was just trying to keep the ball out of the water. And thanks to that, Bengaluru have a good, healthy lead to take into the second leg. That's happening today at 2 p.m. But by the time you hear this podcast, it's probably the match might already be underway. So do visit this thefangarage.com for the updates of the match that is going on right now, as you might be listening to. So in other news, as we spoke in detail about the FIFA officials coming to India and speaking to a lot of clubs. So they did visit the Northeast as well. They spoke to many clubs, the I-League clubs from the Northeast and Guwahati to that side. So one team that was missing was Northeast United. So Chiranjit, any reason for them missing out on this meeting with the AFC and the FIFA officials?
I don't know, man, because the FIFA's tour is based around talking to I-League clubs mostly. Maybe it's the same as it was before. When the joint task force meeting was called in Kuala Lumpur, no ISL team had an independent voice in that. So maybe the same thing is happening, which is unfortunate to say the least. Because look, ISL teams are some of the most important stakeholders in Indian football right now. And if we have AFC and FIFA visiting us, and those guys are not sitting down with them and just relying on IMG Reliance to speak for them, that doesn't really bode well for the future top division that we're going to have. Because, see, in the end, we want clubs that are fully self-sustained and independent. And if they don't act independent when the international representatives are in town, I don't know, man. I don't think later on, after the meeting was over, they went to Kolkata, and I'm not very sure if ATK were involved in the discussions that are going on. So it's really unfortunate, but I just hope whatever grievances or points they've already made it to IMG Reliance, and IMG Reliance does a good job of relaying that to AFC and FIFA. But in the end, you don't want this. You want every club to speak for itself.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way. You have a proper structure where everybody is actually pitching in and doing their work. So yeah, let's hope for the best.
Yeah, so that's always the story, because we always hear of one voice from the IMG Reliance team for all the ISL franchisees. So that's been the story all the while. And the I-League clubs, again, we've spoken this in the previous episodes as well. Everybody needs to come together. Whatever issues are there needs to be brought out for the good of at least for the Indian football betterment. So we've seen everybody try to put their own interest in front of the development of the Indian football. So let's hope at least this time, when the FIFA officials are giving the time of their time directly to the clubs. I don't think this has happened before.
And this was a historic moment, by the way, because look, there are 3 states in the Northeast which are ahead of everybody else in terms of football engagement and development and performance, right? There's Meghalaya, there's Mizoram, and Manipur. Okay, Assam is nowhere near. I think Sikkim and Assam will just have to jostle for the 4th and 5th spot out of the 8 states in the Northeast. And you have 3 clubs from the top 3 states in the I-League. Just the way a top division should be. You have Aizawl FC from Mizoram, you have Shillong Lajong from Meghalaya, and you have from Manipur, NEROCA. So all of those people were there. They were the state association people who also joined in that meeting. So, yeah, it's not like not having Northeast United present made any difference in the end, because the best voices from the Northeast were represented. Okay, and you're gonna base. I know why they picked Guwahati for an ISL franchise. It has the best facilities and most well-developed stadium. But really, Guwahati is not the biggest footballing hub. Assam is not the biggest footballing hub in Northeast. So you're gonna have one team out of. Now I sound like a broken record. One team out of Assam is not going to represent all 8 states. So I don't know what was missing from that conversation that went down, but it would be great to see, Northeast United people actually taking active interest in this conversation that we're having around merger of ISL and I-League. So yeah, let's. What day is it today? It's 13th September. So a couple of days later, we'll have new clubs being announced. Probably we'll have Gokulam coming into the I-League. Then we can actually say that the I-League actually represents the best footballing quarters in the country. Maybe for the first time in years, first time since the mass exodus of the clubs began. So yeah, let's. In some ways, there are positive signs. In some ways, just regarding this conversation, there are still hurdles to overcome.
Yeah. So talking about the ISL, I-Leagues, and there is news about signings. So this is coming from Chennaiyin FC. They announced a winger that's coming in from all the way from the Netherlands. He is named Gregory Nelson, and he joins Chennaiyin FC from Bahrain club Al Moharak. Now he's been a product of Alkmaar youth system. Now this is very interesting. He's 29 years old. He has already played for the national team at under 17, under 18, and under 19 level. Now this is something serious we're talking about. A youth product system based in Netherlands, and he's also represented the youth system, the youth teams. Continues. This is no break. So this is a great signing. If you go to see, kind of on the younger side, 29 is really not that old if you could consider, the ISL signing. So, Chiranjeev, what do you think about him?
Well, when you say 29 is not that old, I get some, assurance from that. I'm 29, so usually when we talk 29, it's like a footballer is sort of approaching the downward slope of his career, but we don't know, man. This guy seems like a good utilitarian signing. I don't know how this will affect the position of Borinda Bodo in the Chennaiyin FC team, because he was one of the players. He plays in the wing. I was really looking forward to seeing him in Chennaiyin FC jersey this season. But yeah, he's going to have a lot of competition from the foreign signings, and a lot of these franchises will go for foreigners to really, populate their attack. So yeah, in that way, it's a pretty it makes sense to bring a player of this caliber in. As you can see, he's not a head turner signing in any way at all.
Yeah.
He's somebody with good enough experience. He's got youth on his side, durability. He's somebody who will be expected to, how many matches are there going to be in ISL? It's 18, and if you are going into the final, you're playing 21 matches. So
Yeah.
he is going to be expected to start 15 or 16 of those matches. So he's supposed to just give it all. His presence is going to be required to justify his inclusion in the team. So that's what it is, and it's going to be good, for the Indian youngsters that are there in Chennaiyin FC. I mean, we put out an article yesterday on the fangarage.com on the young guns of Chennaiyin FC. You can go out and check that out. But these are not people who will teach them a lot by sharing a dressing room with them. But this is genuine competition.
Yeah.
If you have to jostle with players like this for a place in the team, you grow as a player.
Correct.
Okay, and talking about the youngsters who are, let's say 21, 22, they get a couple of years to jostle with this guy, and by the time this guy turns 31 and they turn 24, they have become better than this guy. So
Right.
that is the long-term benefit that you can have from a signing like this.
And also,
So,
just
yeah,
talking about
thumbs
the youngster that you mentioned, like Bodo, he's also in the team in the setup that Materazzi has left behind. Anirudh
Yeah.
Thapa, a guy like him who was, he brings himself in the spotlight just by playing out great performances last season in the ISL, and then he makes his way to the national camp. And now this could be a change. Obviously, we will be talking in detail of about each ISL team. It's very a long way to go. But quick thoughts on the new coach that comes in to replace Materazzi. Will the youth setup that Materazzi showed so much trust on, will this continue? Do you think, Chiranjit?
It has to, man, because Chennaiyin FC, you can see that they are setting up shop for the long term. They're launching some youth teams in the national youth leagues. An academy is about to be set up and it's going to get accredited. So these are the investments for the future. So, you talk about Jerry, you talk about Anirudh, you talk about Boringdao. Everybody is supposed to be, I mean, some of them are on long-term contracts already, some of them are not, but you can bet on the fact that Chennaiyin FC will try to get them tied down for the long term for 4-5 years. So these are the really long-term development projects, and you by developing players like this, you create superstars, and you just form a deep bond with the fans who will come to see these players for years to come. And the best from these players is still far away in the future. They're going to be at their best when they are 24, 25. So there is no scenario where John Gregory does not put an emphasis on continued development of these players. And it's not just him. Materazzi has left, but but the entire youth setup, it was under the care of Syed Pasha, who is an assistant coach at Chennaiyin FC.
Yeah.
Pasha is still there. He's a well-known coach. He's a veteran in youth development. He's worked across age groups in various academies and clubs and even state teams. So, yeah, he's still there. He's going to run the operation. There's no question of there being any, let's say, full stops or gaps in the process that has been started.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like a teaser that we might talk about when we are previewing all the teams. So this is a great point that Materazzi had stressed on having the youth in the team, showing the future for the club and country. And on that note, we will take a break right now. And on the other side of the break, we have another signing that's coming in from Delhi. Delhi Dynamos have got their signings done, and more on that after the break.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says. A show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday on the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts on. You get one banana water free with every podcast. Right. I'll just check that.
Welcome back to After the Break, and we were continuing on talking about ISL signings. We finished talking about Chennai FC, and this is coming in from Delhi Dynamos FC. So they've signed a double. They've got a double signing. One comes in from all the way from Spain, a fullback. His name is Edu Moya. And another one coming in from the Netherlands, Kuyan Fernandes. Now the Spanish guy is a defender. He is a fullback, and the Dutch guy is a forward. Double signings from Delhi Dynamos. Chiranjit, where are they heading with their signings?
Well, they are just filling in the remaining blanks now. I mean, Delhi Dynamos did a really great job in terms of their Indian signings in the draft and the emphasis they put in youth. So it's pretty obvious that this time the core of the squad is not going to be like Spanish or German or Brazilian or whatever it is. The core is going to remain with the Indian players. So what you see from Delhi is a exercise in, okay, this is the department where we need a couple of more guys and stuff like that. So they're going around making utilitarian signings to fit those specific roles. So these two signings are just like that. You're going to have some more personnel on those departments.
Yeah. So Goyan is a 31-year-old. He joins in after his stint at the Dutch club ADO Den Haag. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Then he went on to represent Curacao at the international level, where he was part of the squad of the 2014 Caribbean Cup. And he was also called up by the then head coach, Patrick Kluivert, for the World Cup qualifiers. Now, he's got some good experience against playing against good opponents under Patrick Kluivert. He was one guy I used to look up to. Great coach.
Look, and he's 31, so he can win the Emerging Player Award.
Highly likely. And 36-year-old Edu Moya is also in contention for the Emerging Player of the Year award.
Yes.
He comes in. He comes in from the third division side of Spain. That's goes by the name CP Carcerona. He began his career with Extremadura. Moya also went on to play for Mallorca, Celta Vigo, Hercules in the Spanish top division before he moved to Bolivar. He's also played in the Bolivian league. He's played close to 300 games at the club level. Now that's some experience. Chiranjit, 36.
Yeah. You know what? This is one of the things that ISL teams have learned over the past couple of years, is that you don't really bring a player who has spent most of his career in La Liga directly playing into India. You know, it can often create a situation where he's not communicating well with the other players in the team. And this is something I think Alejandro Del Piero talked about privately when he was in India playing in ISL. This is just hearsay, obviously, but apparently he was not the only one who complained that there are moves that he would conceive in his head, and he would expect others, his teammates, to know about it in let's say EPL or some of the big leagues in Europe, right? So he would make that move, and his Indian teammate or some other teammate that he's had would not see that coming. So that entire move would just go to a waste. So see, you cannot have such a big difference in quality and experience between players in one team. That's why so many marquees have failed. Some of them were too old to fire, but some of them also failed because they could not gel with the others. And it's a team game. You know, you cannot just, it's not like cricket, you have one Chris Gayle who's just going to go out there and hit 6-7 chakka and turn the match around. You have to have somebody who understands his footballing language, you know, that particular players. And often that does not happen with these big expensive signings that they bring in from Europe. Rather, if you can have somebody who's got a, you know, less of a quality, I mean, so to say, if you can call it that, somebody who has not really made it at the highest level in Europe or something like that, they can still put in a very effective, shift for you in the ISL, because their experience and their level will be much more easily adaptable to the kind of game that the Indian players are playing. And this is even more important now because there are more Indians in the team. Yeah. You know, there's just going to be 8 foreigners in the squad and 5 on the field. So Indians are majority on the pitch now. So you have to adapt the game to suit the Indians better. So this is the kind of signings that you will get. And this is why you actually see some of the big name signings, like even Nicolas Anelka is a bad example. He was not really firing anymore. But some of the big players who did not score that well or did not fire that well for ISL teams. But Dudu Omagbemi, old, frail Dudu Omagbemi comes to Chennaiyin FC and scores 5 goals. So yeah, that's how this game works, and it's a new reality that the ISL teams have had to learn, and slowly they are adapting to it.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's the point that you were making. It really summarizes the shift of ISL teams thinking from having big names to active footballers. Whatever the age is, they've been active. They're playing games wherever, whatever league, whichever country they are playing in, and I think that's the main criteria. If you are active, if you're able to give those 90 minutes on the field, for a year, for a season long, that makes it at least a fit in the current hot and humid conditions. It's not a problem towards the end of the year when the climate is still cooler. The bigger difference happens when the heat kicks in. That is, late February, March start. So we have to see about that. How that goes about. A quick thought, discussion on Rohan Sharma's tweet. Now he's a director at Delhi Dynamos FC. He says they will not be signing all 8 foreign players. That is a quota for foreign players in this team.
Yeah.
He says we want to have a spot for the January transfer window where they will make use of that one extra place in that foreign team quota. And the second reason is this. He says that we believe in our Indian players. I think that's just something that need not be mentioned. Obviously, you do believe in Indian counterparts. But interesting to see that they're leaving one spot open for the January transfer window. Chiranjeev, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, some of them will be very actually smart to do that, because you don't know which player may fire and which player may misfire, right? So if you have you go into the November, December months with 6 or 7 foreigners in your squad, and you find out 1 or 2 foreign players which are not really doing that well. Now, there are no more Indian players available for you to sign at that point in January. But yeah, in Europe, you have a transfer window open. So yeah, you can try and make that happen in January. So it's smart thinking. And I think they're actually preparing for the longer haul here, because in the future you're not going to have 8 players.
Correct, and that's precisely that's precisely his next point on his tweet, saying that we want to prepare for the next season, where most probably there'll be a less number of foreigners than it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is. I mean, I'm actually impressed by Delhi Dynamos this season, because they are thinking way ahead of most of the other teams right now. Even most of the I-League clubs are not showing this kind of just consideration for the future. Most of them have always tried to just get by the season, and most of the ISL teams have also done the same.
I think slightly I would disagree on that, on the I-League club vision part. It's the other way around. They've not been shown the vision for the way forward for I-League clubs. So all on that note, we will have to end the show, and that's a wrap for all the discussions on the Indian football. If you're listening to us on YouTube, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can also download IVM Podcast app that's available on Android and iOS. And till another episode, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started ATKT.in. Hi, I'm Ankur, I'm a musician and a rapper, and I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through ATKT.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.